Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless Official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Nikki Newman's elegant birthday celebration at the Genoa City Athletic Club was supposed to be a joyous night filled with laughter, champagne, and cherished memories. The ballroom glimmered under golden chandeliers, white roses covered every table, and the pianist softly played Nikki's favorite melody. Victor Newman, the ever-proud husband, had spared no expense to ensure that his beloved wife's milestone celebration was nothing short of perfection. Every member of the Newman family was in attendance: Victoria, Nick, Adam, Abby, Summer, and even little Harrison, who was thrilled to see his grandma Nikki beam with delight. Yet, beneath all the glitz and glamour, a storm was brewing, one that would soon rip through the Newman family with the force of a hurricane. Diane Jenkins had been invited as Jack Abbott's date, a gesture of peace between the Abbotts and Newmans that many believed was long overdue. But Diane had her own motives for attending, and while Jack thought it was merely a social appearance, Diane's eyes told another story. She had been carrying a secret for weeks, something so explosive that she could barely keep it contained. Every time she locked eyes with Victor, the smug smirk on his face reminded her of the lies he'd buried, lies that connected to her own past in ways no one could have imagined. As the evening unfolded, the tension between them was palpable. Nikki, ever the graceful hostess, gave a heartfelt toast, thanking Victor for his love and their family for standing by her through every storm. She mentioned her gratitude for her sobriety, her faith, and the strength she found in her loved ones. The room erupted with applause, glasses clinked, and smiles abounded, except for one person. Diane's expression hardened. Her hands trembled as she clutched her glass of champagne. The guilt and fury bubbling inside her reached a boiling point. She had sworn to keep Victor's secret, but tonight, as Nikki basked in adoration, Diane couldn't take it anymore. When the music softened and the laughter faded, Diane stepped forward. "Excuse me," she said, her voice cutting through the hum of conversation. Heads turned instantly. Jack looked alarmed, whispering her name in warning, but Diane ignored him. "Before we continue celebrating, there's something everyone here deserves to know, especially you, Nikki." Her tone was trembling but determined, and all eyes darted between her and Victor. Victor's jaw tightened instantly. "Diane," he said in a low, warning voice, "this isn't the time nor the place for whatever game you're playing." "Oh, this isn't a game, Victor," Diane shot back, her voice rising slightly. "This is about truth, something you've been hiding for decades." Nikki's eyes widened, her fingers gripping her champagne flute as dread began to set in. "What is she talking about, Victor?" she asked softly. Diane's voice quivered but grew stronger with each word. "I'm talking about the child you never told anyone about. The one you fathered years ago, the secret child you thought the world would never know existed." The room fell silent. Gasps echoed across the ballroom as the color drained from Victor's face. Nikki's breath caught in her throat, her entire body trembling. Victoria and Nick exchanged confused looks, while Adam's eyes darkened with suspicion. Abby's lips parted in shock. "Diane," Jack warned in a low tone, trying to pull her back, but she shook his hand away. "Tell them, Victor," Diane demanded, tears welling in her eyes. "Tell Nikki the truth, tell your children about the son you abandoned." Whispers erupted instantly. Nikki's glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the floor. "What son?" she asked in disbelief, her voice cracking. "Victor, please tell me this woman is lying." But Victor didn't respond. His silence spoke louder than any denial could. His expression was stone cold, but his eyes betrayed the storm raging inside. "His name is Alexander," Diane continued, her voice breaking. "And he's mine too." The collective gasp that followed was deafening. Nikki stumbled back as if she'd been struck. "Yours," she repeated, her voice barely audible. "You're saying, you and Victor?" "Yes," Diane interrupted, her tone trembling. "Years ago, before everything fell apart between us, Victor and I had a brief affair, one that resulted in a child. I found out I was pregnant after I left Genoa City. I thought he would want to know, but when I called him, he told me it was impossible, that he had too much to lose. He offered me money to keep quiet, but I refused. I raised Alexander on my own. Jack's face turned white. He had heard rumors of Diane's secret child long ago, but the idea that Victor Newman was the father, that was a bombshell even he couldn't have imagined. Diane, my God, he whispered, his voice low with shock. Nikki's voice shook as she turned to Victor. Is this true? Did you father a child with Diane Jenkins? Victor exhaled sharply, trying to regain control of the moment. This is nonsense, he said through clenched teeth. Diane is trying to stir up trouble like she always does. She's lying. I'm not lying. Diane snapped, tears spilling down her cheeks. You know I'm not. You met him, last year in Chicago. You recognized him instantly. You told me to stay quiet for Nikki's sake. Nikki's knees buckled, and Nick caught her just in time before she collapsed. Victoria rushed over, glaring daggers at Diane. How dare you come here and ruin my mother's birthday with your lies, she spat. They're not lies. Diane cried. Victor Newman is Alexander's father, and he's been hiding it for decades. I kept quiet because I didn't want to destroy your family, but the hypocrisy is unbearable. You all act like you're paragons of truth and loyalty, but your father. Enough. Victor roared, slamming his glass onto the table so hard it shattered. The entire room froze. You want to embarrass me? You think you can destroy me with your pathetic story? You've always been desperate for attention, Diane, and now you're using a fantasy to make yourself relevant again. But even as he spoke, the flicker of guilt in his eyes betrayed him. Nikki saw it, and that was enough. So it's true, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. All these years, all your speeches about honesty, loyalty, family, and you had another child behind my back. Victor tried to reach for her, but Nikki stepped away. Don't touch me, she shouted, her voice breaking. You've humiliated me in front of everyone I love, again. Diane's chest heaved as she looked at Nikki. I never meant to hurt you, she said softly. But you deserve to know who your husband really is. Nikki turned to her, trembling with rage. You're no better than him, she hissed. You chose tonight, my birthday, to drop this bomb? You've both betrayed me. Adam, who had been standing silently, finally spoke. So let me get this straight, he said bitterly. Victor has another son, a son he's been hiding. Does anyone else see the pattern here? He's been playing God with people's lives for decades. Guess what, Dad, your empire just cracked. Nick clenched his fists. Who is this Alexander, Diane? Where is he? Diane wiped her tears. He's in Genoa City, she confessed. He came here last month. He's been trying to find out who his father is. I didn't plan to reveal it like this, but he deserves to know the truth. Victoria's jaw dropped. Wait, he's here? You mean we've been walking around town with our half-brother and didn't even know it? Nikki clutched her chest, shaking her head. I can't take this, she whispered. Not tonight. Victor tried to follow her as she staggered toward the exit, but Nick blocked his path. Let her go, Dad, he warned. You've done enough damage for one night. The chaos only grew from there. Abby was in tears, unable to comprehend what this meant for their family. Summer stood frozen, looking between her mother and grandfather, realizing that Genoa City would never be the same. Jack looked horrified, both at Diane's confession and the pain it caused. Diane tried to explain herself, but Victor's glare could have cut through steel. You've made a grave mistake, Diane, he said in a low, dangerous tone. You think you can destroy me? You've just declared war. Maybe, Diane replied quietly, but at least the truth is finally out. Hours later, after the guests had scattered and the lights of the ballroom dimmed, Nikki sat alone in her suite, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her mascara was smeared, her curls undone, her heart shattered. The woman staring back at her was a stranger, betrayed once again by the man she had given everything to. She thought of all the years she'd defended Victor, all the second chances, all the lies she'd forgiven. And now, she realized, the biggest lie of all had been living beside her for decades. Meanwhile, across town, Diane sat in Jack's office at Jabot, trembling as the reality of what she'd done sank in. Jack's expression was grave. "You just detonated a bomb that could take down both families," he said quietly. "I know," Diane whispered. "But it was the truth." Jack sighed. "Truth or not, Victor will come for you. And when he does, it won't just be you who pays the price, it'll be everyone you care about." And somewhere in the shadows of Genoa City, a young man named Alexander Newman looked down at his phone, reading the news alerts about the scandal that had just broken. His face was unreadable, part pain, part relief. "So it's true," he murmured. "Victor Newman is my father." As the camera panned away from the chaos left behind, one thing was clear: this revelation would forever alter the landscape of Genoa City. Friendships would crumble, alliances would shift, and the mighty Newman dynasty would never recover from the night Diane Jenkins revealed Victor's secret child at Nikki's birthday party. And as the storm clouds gathered over the Newman ranch, Victor poured himself a glass of brandy, staring into the flames of the fireplace. His empire might still stand, but the foundation beneath it had just cracked wide open. The morning after Nikki's disastrous birthday party dawned cold and gray over Genoa City, as if the weather itself was mourning the implosion of the Newman dynasty. The headlines spread like wildfire: Victor Newman's secret child revealed. Every media outlet, from GC Buzz to the national tabloids, had plastered the scandal across their platforms. For decades, Victor Newman had ruled Genoa City like a king, commanding power, wealth, and loyalty. But now, his crown was slipping, and his kingdom was crumbling from within. At the Newman ranch, the silence was suffocating. The grand staircase, the polished marble floors, the priceless art, all the symbols of Victor's power, now seemed hollow. Nikki sat alone in the sitting room, wrapped in a silk robe, her birthday tiara discarded on the coffee table beside an untouched glass of water. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying, but her expression had hardened into quiet resolve. When Victor entered, she didn't even look up. He paused by the door, adjusting his tie, trying to appear composed, but his face was drawn, and his eyes betrayed exhaustion. "Nikki," he began softly, "we need to talk." She gave a bitter laugh. "Now you want to talk? After you humiliated me in front of our family, our friends, and half of Genoa City?" "Nikki, I never meant for any of that to happen," Victor said, his tone calm but defensive. "You know Diane, she's manipulative. She wanted to hurt you, to hurt us." "Don't you dare blame Diane for this," Nikki snapped, standing to face him. "You had decades to tell me the truth. You looked me in the eye every single day, knowing there was another child out there, your child, and you kept that from me. How could you?" Victor exhaled, trying to regain control. "It was complicated," he said. "It was a mistake I made a long time ago. I didn't know for sure." "Don't lie to me again," Nikki screamed, her voice echoing through the mansion. "You knew. Diane said you met him in Chicago. You recognized him. You looked at your own son and still chose to deny him. That's not a mistake, Victor, that's cruelty." For once, Victor had no response. The indestructible titan of Genoa City, known for his composure and control, stood speechless. Nikki's words pierced through the armor he'd spent a lifetime building. "I've forgiven you for so many things," Nikki continued, tears streaking her face. "Your affairs, your schemes, your manipulations. But this? This is different. You didn't just betray me, you betrayed your own flesh and blood." "Nikki, I was trying to protect you," he said quietly. "I didn't want to cause you pain." "Protect me?" she scoffed. "You were protecting yourself. You didn't want the world to see Victor Newman as weak, as human. You thought if this came out, your empire would fall. Well, congratulations, it has." She turned toward the door, her voice breaking. "I'm leaving, Victor. I need time away from this house, from you, from your lies." "Nikki." No, she interrupted sharply. Don't follow me. Don't send anyone after me. I'm going to the lake house, and for once in my life, I need to figure out who I am without you. Before he could stop her, she grabbed her keys and walked out, slamming the door behind her. The echo of that slam reverberated through the halls of the ranch like a final judgment, the sound of a woman reclaiming her freedom. Meanwhile, at Society, Victoria and Nick sat in a private booth, both nursing cups of coffee that had long gone cold. The usually confident, composed Newman siblings looked shaken, their worlds turned upside down. I still can't believe it, Victoria said softly. A secret brother. How could Dad hide something like that from us? Nick sighed, rubbing his temples. Because he's Victor Newman. He's been lying to us our whole lives, we just never wanted to see it. Do you think Diane was telling the truth? Victoria asked. Nick looked up, his jaw tightening. Yeah. You saw Dad's face. That wasn't the look of a man being lied about. That was guilt. Victoria nodded grimly. If this Alexander really is Dad's son, he's out there right now. Probably hating us. Nick leaned back. Or planning to make us pay. Neither of them knew that just a few blocks away, Alexander himself was standing outside Newman Enterprises, staring up at the towering glass building that bore his father's name. He was tall, dark-haired, and carried an aura of quiet strength, the unmistakable mark of a Newman. His mother's confession had changed everything. For years, he had suspected that his father was someone powerful, someone with secrets. Now, knowing it was Victor Newman made everything make sense, the unanswered questions, the closed doors, the silence. As he stepped into the lobby, he could feel eyes on him. His resemblance to Victor was uncanny, the same piercing gaze, the same confident stride. He approached the receptionist and spoke with calm authority. Tell Victor Newman his son is here to see him. When Victor finally emerged from his office, the tension was electric. The two men stood face to face, separated by decades of lies. So it's true, Alexander said softly. You're my father. Victor studied him carefully. Diane told you? She didn't have to, Alexander replied. I figured it out after I saw you in Chicago. I saw the way you looked at me. You knew then, didn't you? Victor exhaled deeply, his voice quieter than usual. I suspected. But suspicion isn't proof. That's a coward's answer, Alexander said bitterly. You knew, but you couldn't face it. Because admitting it meant admitting you'd made a mistake, and Victor Newman doesn't make mistakes, right? Victor's eyes narrowed. You don't know me, son. I'm not your son, Alexander snapped. You forfeited that right when you ignored me. You had a chance to be a father, but you chose pride instead. Victor's tone hardened. You think you can walk into my office and lecture me about pride? You have no idea what I've sacrificed for this family, for this company. Alexander took a step closer. I'm not here for your company. I'm here for the truth. I want to know why you abandoned me, why you let my mother raise me alone while you played house with Nikki and your other children. Victor's expression flickered with guilt. Because I was married, and I thought it was the right thing to do. I didn't want to destroy another family. Alexander laughed bitterly. You destroyed mine instead. For a moment, the room was silent. Then Alexander's tone softened slightly. You know, all I wanted as a kid was a father. Someone to throw a ball with, someone to look up to. But you were too busy being Victor Newman, the legend, the mogul, the man who thought he could control everything. Well, you can't control me. Victor straightened his shoulders. You've made your point. So what do you want from me? Money? A place in the company? Alexander shook his head. I don't want your money, and I don't want your pity. I want your acknowledgement, in public. You tell the world I'm your son, or I'll do it for you.